Blessings Booktube. Today I would like to wrap up the Bullwinkle fairy tale series with a lesser known tale by a lesser known author. This is called Fortunee, or the Pot of Pinks. Sometimes in English it's given as Felicia and the Pot of Pinks. Felicia being happy, Fortunee being happy, lucky. And this is by Madame d'Aulnoy, and it is mostly known through the Blue Fairy book by Andrew Lang. Uh, and I'm indebted to, what's the website where I found the version I'm going to read you? Here it is. It's the flash drive. Sacredtext.com. There we go. Sorry, that was an ad. It's the flash drive. So they have legends and sagas and Lang's fairy books and sacred texts. So this is Felicia and the Pot of Pinks in this version. And remember that in these, I share a fairy tale with you, and then we compare it to the interpreted version offered by the great old 70s cartoon, Rocky and Bullwinkle. Felicia and the Pot of Pinks. I will say nothing about the Freudian or other about the interpretation of the Pot of Pinks. I'll leave it to the feminists to do an unpacking of that for you. But we do know, of course, the pubescent nature of these many of these fairy tales. Okay, once upon a time there was a poor laborer who, feeling that he had not much longer to live, wished to divide his possessions between his son and daughter, whom he loved dearly. So he called to them and said, "Your mother brought me as her dowry 2 stools and a straw bed. I have besides a hen, a pot of pinks," it's like flowers, "and a silver ring, which were given to me by a noble lady who once lodged in my poor cottage. When she went away, she said to me, 'Be careful of my gifts, good man. See that you do not lose the ring or forget to water the pinks. As for your daughter, I promise you that she shall be more beautiful than anyone you ever saw in your life. Call her Felicia, and when she grows up, give her the ring and pot of pinks to console her for her poverty. Take them both then, my dear child,' he added, 'and your brother shall have everything else.' The 2 children seemed quite contented, and when their father died, they wept for him and divided his possessions as he had told them. Felicia believed that her brother loved her, but when she sat down upon one of the stools, he said angrily, 'Keep your pot of pinks and your ring, but let my things alone. I like order in my house.'" Ooh, that's not very nice. Felicia, who was very gentle, said nothing, but stood up crying quietly, while Bruno, for that was her brother's name, sat comfortably by the fire. Presently, when supper time came, Bruno had a delicious egg, and he threw it the shell to Felicia, saying, "There, that is all I can give you. If you don't like it, go out and catch frogs. There are plenty of them in the marsh close by." Felicia did not answer, but she cried more bitterly than ever, and went away to her own little room. She found it filled with the sweet scent of the pinks, and going up to them, she said sadly, "Beautiful pinks, you are so sweet and so pretty. You are the only comfort I have left. Be very sure that I will take care of you and water you well, and never allow any cruel hand to tear you from your stems." As she leaned over them, she noticed that they were very dry. So taking her pitcher, she ran off in the clear moonlight to the fountain, which was at some distance. When she reached it, she sat down upon the brink to rest. But she had hardly done so when she saw a stately lady coming toward her, surrounded by numbers of attendants. 6 maids of honor carried her train, and she leaned upon the arm of another. When they came near the fountain, a canopy was spread for her, under which was placed a sofa of cloth of gold, and presently a dainty supper was served, upon a table covered with dishes of gold and crystal, while the wind in the trees and the falling water of the fountain murmured the softest music. Felicia was hidden in the shade, too much astonished by all she saw to venture to move. But in a few moments the queen said, "I fancy I see a shepherdess near that tree. Bid her come hither." So Felicia came forward and saluted the queen timidly, but with so much grace that all were surprised. What are you doing here, my pretty child? Said the queen. Are you not afraid of robbers? Ah, madam, said Felicia, a poor shepherdess who has nothing to lose does not fear robbers. You are not very rich then, said the queen, smiling. I am so poor, answered Felicia, that a pot of pinks and a silver ring are my only possessions in the world. But you have a heart, said the queen. What should you say if anybody wanted to steal that? And here again, by hearts, I think we can also safely assume that it's the maidenhead that must be protected, and that puts all women at risk in the wilds, to take it from another angle. I do not know what it is like to lose one's heart, madam, she replied, but I have always heard that without a heart one cannot live, and if it is broken one must die, and in spite of my poverty I should be sorry not to live. You are quite right to take care of your heart, pretty one, said the queen. But tell me, have you supped? No, madam, answered Felicia, my brother ate all the supper there was. The queen ordered that a place to be made for her table, and herself loaded Felicia's plate with good things, but she was too much astonished to be hungry. I want to know what you are doing at the fountain so late, said the queen presently. Oh, I came to fetch a pitcher of water for my pinks, madam, she answered, stooping to pick up the pitcher which stood beside her. But when she showed it to the queen, she was amazed to see that it had turned to gold, all sparkling with diamonds, and the water of which it was full was more fragrant than the sweetest roses. She was afraid to take it until the queen said, It is yours, Felicia. Go and water your pinks with it, and let it remind you that the queen of the world is your friend. The shepherdess threw herself at the queen's feet and thanked her humbly for her gracious words. Ah, madam, she cried, if I might beg you to stay here a moment, I would run and fetch my pot of pinks for you. They would not fall into better hands. Go, Felicia, said the queen, stroking her cheek softly. I'll wait until you come back. So Felicia took her pitcher, ran to her little room, but while she was away, Bruno had gone in and taken the pot of pinks and left a great cabbage in its place. When she saw the unlucky cabbage, Felicia was distressed and did not know what to do. But at last she ran back to the fountain and kneeled before the queen and said, Madam, Bruno has stolen my pot of pinks, so I have nothing but my silver ring, but I beg you to accept it as a proof of my gratitude. But if I take your ring, pretty shepherdess, you have nothing left, and what will you do then? Ah, madam, she answered simply, if I have your friendship, I shall do very well. So the queen took the ring and put it on her finger and mounted her chariot, which was made of coral studded with emeralds, and drawn by 6 milk-white horses. And Felicia looked after her until the winding of the forest path hid her from sight, and then went back to the cottage, thinking over the wonderful things that had happened there. The first thing she did when she reached her room was to throw the cabbage out the window. But she was surprised to hear an odd little voice cry out, Ah, I'm half killed, and could not tell where it came from because cabbages do not generally speak. Now, as soon as it was light, Felicia, who was very unhappy about her pot of pinks, went out to look for it, and the first thing she found was the unfortunate cabbage. She gave it a push with her foot, saying, What are you doing here, and how dare you put yourself in the place of my pot of pinks? If I hadn't been carried, said the cabbage, you may be very sure that I shouldn't have thought of going there. It made her shiver with fright to hear the cabbage talk, but he went on. If you will be good enough to plant me by my comrades again, I can tell you where your pinks are at this moment, hidden in Bruno's bed. Felicia was in despair when she heard this, not knowing how she was going to get them back. But she replanted the cabbage very kindly in its old place, and as she finished doing it, she saw Bruno's hut and said, catching hold of it, Come here, horrid little creature, you shall suffer all the unkind things your brother has done to me. My brother has done to me, excuse me. Ah, shepherdess, said the hen, don't kill me. I'm rather a gossip, and I can tell you some surprising things that you will like to hear. Don't imagine you're the daughter of the poor laborer who brought you up. Your mother was a queen who had 6 girls already. The king threatened that unless she had a son to inherit the kingdom, she would have her head cut off. So when the queen had another little daughter, she was frightened and agreed with her sister, a fairy, to exchange her for the fairy's little son. Now the queen had been shut up in a great tower by king's orders, and when a great many days went by and still nothing heard from the fairy, she made escape from the window by means of a rope ladder, taking her little baby with her. Wandering about until she was half dead with cold and fatigue, she reached the cottage. It was the laborer's wife and was a good nurse. I was the laborer's wife and was a good nurse, and the queen gave you into my charge and told me all her misfortunes, and then died before she came to say what was to become of you. As I never in all my life could keep a secret, I could not help telling this strange tale to my neighbors. And one day a beautiful lady came, and I told it to her. When I finished, she touched me with a wand. She held her hand, and instantly I became a hen, and there was an end of my talking. I was very sad, and my husband, who was out when it happened, never knew what had become of me. After seeking me everywhere, he believed that I must have been drowned or eaten up by wild beasts in the forest. That same lady came here once more and commanded you should be called Felicia, and left a ring and pot of pigs to be given you. And while she was in the house, 25 of the king's guards came to search for you, doubtless meaning to kill you. But she muttered a few words, and immediately they all turned into cabbages. It was one of them whom you threw out your window yesterday. I don't know how it was he could speak. I've never heard either of them say a word before, nor have I been able to do it myself until now. The princess was greatly astonished at the hen's story, and said kindly, I'm truly sorry for you, my poor nurse, and wish it was in my power to restore you to your real form. But we must not despair. It seems to me, after what you've told me, that something must be going to happen soon. Just now, however, I must go and look for my pinks, which I love better than anything in the world. Bruno had gone into the forest, never thinking Felicia would search his room for the pinks. She was delighted by his unexpected absence, and thought to get them back without trouble, but as soon as she entered the room, she saw an army of rats guarding the straw bed. When she attempted to approach it, they sprang at her, biting and scratching furiously. Terrified, she drew back, crying out, Oh, my dear pinks, how can you stay in such bad company? Then she suddenly bethought herself of the pitcher of water, and hoping that it might have some magic power, she ran to fetch it, and sprinkled a few drops over the fierce-looking swarm of rats. In a moment, not tail or whisker was to be seen. Every one made for its hole as fast as his legs could carry him, so the princess could safely take her pot of pinks. She found them nearly dying for want of water, hastily poured all that was left in the pitcher upon them. As she bent over them, enjoying their delicious scent, a soft voice seemed to rustle among the leaves, said, Lovely Felicia, the day has come at last, when I may have the happiness of telling you how even the flowers love you and rejoice in your beauty. The princess, overcome by the strangeness of hearing cabbage, hen, and a pink speak, and by the terrible sight of an army of rats, became very pale and fainted away. At this moment, in came Bruno. Sorry, still getting over my illness. Working hard in that heat had not improved his temper, and when he saw that Felicia had succeeded in finding her pinks, he was so angry, he dragged her out in the garden and shut the door upon her. The fresh air made her open her pretty eyes, and there before her stood Queen of the Woods, looking as charming as ever. You have a bad brother, she said. I saw he turned you out. Shall I punish him for it? Ah, no, madam, she said. I'm not angry with him. But supposing he was not your brother after all, what would you say then? Oh, but I think he must be, said Felicia. What, said the queen, have you not heard you are a princess? I was told so a little while ago, madam, but how could I believe such without proof? Ah, dear child, the way you speak assures me that in spite of your humble upbringing, you are indeed a real princess, and I can save you from being treated in such a way again. She was interrupted at the moment by the arrival of a very young man, a handsome young man. He bore a coat of green velvet, fastened with emerald clasps, and had a crown of pinks on his head. He knelt upon one knee and kissed the queen's hand. Ah, she said, my pink, my son, What a happiness to see you restored to your natural shape by Felicia's aid. And she embraced him joyfully. Then, turning to Felicia, said, Charming princess, I know all the hen told you, but you cannot have heard that the Zephyrs, to whom was entrusted the task of carrying my son to the tower, where the queen his mother so anxiously waited for him, left him instead in a garden of flowers, while they flew off to tell your mother. Whereupon a fairy with whom I had quarreled changed him into a pink. I could do nothing to prevent it. You can imagine how angry I was and how I tried to find a means of undoing the mischief she'd done, but there was no help for it. I could only bring Prince Pink to the place where they were being brought up, hoping that when you grew up he might love you, and by your care be restored to his natural form. And you see, everything has come right as I hoped it would. Your giving me the silver ring was the sign the power of the charm was nearly over, and my enemy's last chance to frighten you with her army of rats. That she did not succeed in doing. So now, dear Felicia, if you will be married with my son, with this silver ring, your future happiness is certain. Do you think her handsome and amiable enough to be willing to marry him? Madam, said Felicia, blushing, you overwhelm me with your kindness. I know you are my mother's sister, and by your art you turned the soldiers who were sent to kill me into cabbages, and my nurse into a hen, and that you do me only too much honor in proposing I shall marry your son. How can I explain to you the cause of my hesitation? I feel for the first time in my life how happy it would make me to be beloved. Can you indeed give me the prince's heart? It's yours already, lovely princess, he cried, taking her hand in his. But for the horrible enchantment which kept me silent, I should have told you long ago how dearly I loved you. And this made the princess very happy, and the queen could not bear to see her dressed like a poor shepherdess, touched her with a wand, saying, I wish you to be attired as befits your rank and beauty. Immediately the princess's cotton dress became a magnificent robe of silver brocade, embroidered with carbuncles, and her soft dark hair was encircled by a crown of diamonds, from which floated a clear white veil. With her bright eyes and charming color in her cheeks, she was altogether such a dazzling sight that the prince could hardly bear it. How pretty you are, Felicia, she cried. Don't keep me in suspense, I entreat you. Say you'll marry me. Ah, said the queen, smiling, I think she will not refuse now. And just then Bruno was going back to work, came out of the cottage, and thought he must be dreaming when he saw Felicia. But she called him very kindly and begged the queen to take pity on him. What? She said. When he was so unkind to you? Ah, madam, says the princess, I am so happy that I should like everyone else to be happy too. And the queen kissed her and said, Well, to please you, let me see what I can do for this cross Bruno. And with a wave of her hand, she turned the poor little cottage into a splendid palace full of treasures, and only the 2 stools and straw bed remained as they were to remind him of former poverty. Then the queen touched Bruno himself and made him gentle and grateful, and he thanked her and the princess 1,000 times. Lastly, the queen restored the hen and cabbages to normal forms and left them all very contented. The prince and princess were married as soon as possible with great splendor and lived happily ever after. That's quite interesting, the bed of straw being left to remind one of one's humble origins. I like that detail quite a lot. Now let's take a look, shall we, at the Bullwinkle version, the fractured fairy tale of the Pot of Pinks. So the Bullwinkle version is a little bit more explicitly in the pattern of the biblical stories of the 2 gifts and the despised gift. So the father gives them each a gift. There's no backstory to the gifts in the Bullwinkle version. And those gifts are a chicken, right? And the pot of pinks, which is, livestock and a plant, right? A produce. And one of the gifts is magic. He tells them that, but he can't remember which one. So again, here we have, the herder and the agriculturalist, right? Conflict from the beginnings of time, or the beginnings of civilization, I guess. And, Yahweh, various gods favoring one or the other of the gifts and despising the other and causing all this brotherly conflict. So in this one, the kid figures out, Bruno, he figures out his egg is not laying gold, right? So he's mad. He's like, oh, the pot of pinks must be the magic gift. So he steals it and leaves in its place a cabbage. And then the cabbage then starts laying the golden eggs, and everything gets a bit crazy. Um, and So basically, Felicia tricks Bruno by showing the golden eggs and offering to exchange him back his chicken, not mentioning the cabbage that laid the golden eggs. And he assumes, of course, that it's the chicken that lays the golden eggs. And so he switches back with her. She gets her pot of plants back. He gets his chicken. But all works out in the end because his chicken starts laying golden eggs. Her pot of pants turns into a prince, and all that good stuff. So there you go. Hope you've enjoyed the Bullwinkle series. I enjoyed doing them. There are a few more, another 10 or so, that I haven't interpreted, but I think that'll probably do it for that series. For now, I'll have some other things I want to get working on too, but I might come back and revisit it in a future time. I love talking about myths and stories and fairy tales and legends and fables and all that good stuff. If you love it too, let me know, and let me know, anything else that you'd like me to cover here in the new year. Thank you very much.